Welcome to the Bank First Ranger Hour. Super Talk Mississippi 93.7 Spotlight on Northwest Community College. And you can listen to our live stream at supertalknorthms.com. Just click on the link for the Bank First Ranger Hour. Now, here's your host, Gary Darby.
With a rainy start to the program today, and for the next hour or two, North Mississippi, you'll have a little bit of rain in this Super Talk 93.7 listening area. Good morning, friends. It is time for the Bank First Ranger Hour, and the discussion today will begin with Kyle Eldred. Had an opportunity to talk with him. We'll let you listen to that conversation. It's spring break, so a lot of the instructors and obvious students and different people are out and about all over the place, and so we will discuss the commercial truck driving program with Kyle. We have that conversation coming up in the next segment. When we are done with that, Joe Azar of the Panola Partnership will join us. As we have mentioned multiple times throughout, the last couple of weeks, on the 29th of this month, the big fundraising event for Northwest and their foundation, which is called the Soiree, will occur on the Northwest campus. They will honor the Panola Partnership as part of the goings-on that night. We have already talked with a couple of individuals. We'll have one more to go next week. But Northwest honoring the Panola Partnership for doing business and dealing with and big things there in Batesville with the Concourse. So Joe Azar is going to be on our program in the second half of the show. And before we are done, I will update you on Northwest Athletics. Also, no one's made any changes as of yet in that world, but Northwest has made a little change in its softball schedule. I'll go ahead and do that for you now, in fact, and hit the sports before we take the first break and then get a couple of interviews going on for you. Softball has moved their doubleheader, which was scheduled on Saturday against Pearl River, to Sunday now, and that will be at noon and 2. And the softball team scheduled to play today on the Northwest campus at 2 and 4 against National Park College. They're coming off of a couple of losses to number 1 Jones. They'll play National Park College, barring any other pop-up rain and things later in the afternoon. They should be fine at 2 and 4. And then Sunday now for number 13 Pearl River in Senatobia. And that will be noon and at 2. Northwest Baseball's on the road on Saturday in Poplarville against number 2 Pearl River. They, too, also just lost a couple of games against Jones, number 4 in the country. So opening up conference play in baseball with a couple of nationally ranked teams. The best thing to do, NWCCRangers.com. Schedule updates, whatever might be going on. It's all there. The Bryans have you covered. So go to NWCCRangers.com if you have any questions about what's going on in the world of athletics at Northwest Community College. 2 guests today, so we're going to get in early because I think we've got a lot of things to discuss. First, the commercial truck driving program with Kyle Eldred, and then Joe Azar, the Panola Partnership, will join us. It is a Bank First Ranger Hour, Thursday, March 13th edition of the show.
This hour is everything Northwest. Your connection to Northwest Mississippi Community College and powered by Bank First. Thanks for joining us on the Bank First Ranger Hour. Join the conversation now by texting 662-426-1093.
Bank First brings us this program. It's called the Ranger Hour, 9 to 10 on Thursdays. And we get an opportunity to bring in a new voice and introduce you to Kyle Eldred. He is with the commercial truck driving program at NWCC. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Gary. How are you?
Things are fine as we roll along here spring break, and we appreciate you giving us some time and doing things here on the program. First time, so what we like to do on each and every show where we do talk to someone for the first time is learn a little bit about you. So, Kyle, kind of where you from? You always been in North Mississippi, and how long have you been in the truck driving industry?
Yeah, I grew up in South Memphis, and then later in high school moved to DeSoto County. And in 1985, I joined the United States Marine Corps at 17 and was in motor transport and drove 5 tons, deuce and halves, and auto cars and different equipment that the Marine Corps had. And I can't believe, Gary, that was actually 40 years ago. So that's how long I've been messing with trucks now, 40 years.
You know, we were talking on the phone yesterday, and I said to you, I couldn't imagine, because I drive a Nissan Pathfinder, and the wind was kind of blowing me around a little bit yesterday. I couldn't imagine trying to handle a rig, and kudos to the men and women who were driving the highways yesterday in North Mississippi. That was not the day to be behind the wheel, was it?
No, absolutely not. And, for folks that drive over the road, which I did for 30 years, I pulled a set of double trailers for 30 years, spent a lot of those years running to the West Coast. There are areas a lot worse than ours, I can assure you of that, as far as wind. New Mexico, some of the canyons and gorges, and coming off of mountain peaks out west. I train my students, too, to how to handle those situations. It's very different than a car. I promise you that.
Sure. And so I guess in the classroom setting, what you're saying is you will discuss these, and obviously you have to experience what's going on at some point when you're behind the wheel and do it. But you have to go in that classroom setting and talk about, I guess, whether it is wind, whether it is rain, or you get the ice and the snow. How do you do all of that in a classroom setting?
Well, some of it is simulated, of course, and we actually have a professional simulator.
Oh.
We have a special classroom with a simulator in it. And, Gary, anytime you want to get on that, I'll put you on it.
Oh.
It's a lot of fun, and it's interesting. But I spent 11 years of my career in Minnesota, which is where my wife is from. And I can tell my students all day long what it's like to drive in ice and snow. But until, like you said, until you experience that, it's theory only. And so some of what we do is theory only. Thank goodness in North Mississippi we don't experience tremendously bad winters like I had for so many years in Minnesota. But I do have opportunities to explain to them how to steer and counter steer, what to look for, maintaining a good space cushion, which I teach them every day when we're on the road. Even if it's a beautiful 70-degree day, you still want to keep plenty of distance. And I think a lot of it, whether it's weather or night driving or any of the things that we have to just work with the theory portion, I emphasize it when we're actually out on the road driving, and it's really a matter of changing your driving habits. Becoming a commercial truck driver, being a professional driver, is a very different thing. Most people have bad driving habits. I think we'd all agree with that.
Absolutely. I know that I do, without a doubt. Although, I say that, and if I'm traveling or if I'm doing anything with family or friends, I want to be the one behind the wheel, regardless. I'm a nervous, I can be the backseat driver. I guess we could just say that. I'm not a good passenger. I like to have it in my hands. Where is this only offered in Batesville, or do you have other options for those? And if so, let's just get into the program and how long does it last?
Yeah, no, we have 2 programs. Keith Wilbanks is the instructor in Olive Branch at that location. I'm here in Batesville. And Northwest has actually had a truck driving program since the early 70s. Been around for a long time. Our program is 16 weeks long. When I first started, we were at 4 weeks, which didn't work at all. And thank goodness we've got some fantastic leadership here at the college, and they realize with a very low percentage of people getting it, it's just too much skill involved to go that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They decided the best thing for us was to go to a full semester. That way our students can utilize student our financial aid to pay for the course, and it gives us a chance to really get into beyond theory on things, and they get a lot of hands-on time behind the wheel, both backing and driving, and I put them through a lot of different areas here, locally, 4-lane, 2-lane, interstate, a lot of turns, a lot of things that they're going to need, not only for the CDL test, but in real life.
Sure, because obviously there's difference in, over the road and going down I-55 or coming through some of the streets of Batesville or Oxford, or let's just say some of our DeSoto County cities that they may be driving on a busy Goodman Road.
Absolutely. And we put them on those streets. Not at first, of course, we build up their confidence, help them gain the skills that they need, lane management, and we use a lot of different acronyms for them to learn for safe driving and make sure that they're safe, they're comfortable, and then we move on from easier driving, for instance, let's say down I-55, then I'll put them on 6, Highway 6, and we go through Oxford, and that's a little bit more traffic. And then I have them run through Batesville, and that's a little more traffic, and deal with things like that. Keith up in Olive Branch, their last little bit of driving and I was with Keith up there for 5 years before I came down here, and we would put our students on Goodman Road, which is one of the heaviest traffic road in the state, I'm sure.
No doubt. I lived off in between Goodman and Church Road for about 4 to 5 years, so very, very familiar with that. This is a 5-day-a-week program too, right? Monday through Friday for 16 weeks?
That's correct. Monday through Friday from 8 to 3. And that, like I said, probably we do have theory portions and modules that's bookwork. I have several days of class training that's hazardous materials, hours of service, federal laws, and trip planning, which yesterday with that wind, I think I told you, Gary, I didn't put my students out in that wind. They're not ready for that, so we were in the class with the map books learning trip planning. But probably 85% of that time they spend over that semester is going to be behind the wheel.
Talking about the commercial truck driving program with Kyle Eldred and Northwest Community College. About how big of a cohort do you have? How many students go through a typical semester?
Typically, we cap out at 8, and currently I have 5. I had 3 others that at the last minute weren't able to attend, but they're going to be in the fall class. It looks like we're going to be pushing our numbers pretty good on the fall class. But 8 is max, which works out really well. I have 2 trucks, and that way I can have 4 in one truck, 4 in the other on days that we're backing. Days that we're driving, I'll take 4 with me. The other 4 will either be in class or working on something else, and we take turns that way, and it works out really well.
So if there's someone listening that's thinking about this and might want to get involved in the program, how do they go about getting into the commercial truck driving program?
Yeah, ours is pretty easy. We got a fantastic team of people. They're in Senatobia. Kelsey Baker is the young lady that she's my counselor, and they can email her. Do you mind if I give out her email address?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's K Baker, Baker, at northwestms.edu, and they can email her, and she will email them back the application to the college, the things that are required, things like your MVR, which is your motor vehicle record, would have to be pulled. We require a DOT physical and a drug screen. There's just a number of things that have to be put into place before you start class, but she's the one that would definitely be able to help.
I would assume there are jobs available as soon as you complete the course, correct?
Yeah, our industry's fantastic, and it's. I've always said, like I said, I've been in this trucking business for a long time now. I made a really good living raising 3 kids. My wife and I are getting ready to have our 38th anniversary this month, and the last 6 years that I drove, she and I drove team, and she went through Northwest. That's how I got to know these folks. And when she ran team with me, she and I, we pulled a set of doubles from Memphis to Lake City, Florida, back to Memphis, and she commented how every day she was getting emails and from different companies looking for drivers, that needing drivers. and it's just it's an industry that is in demand so much because everything you touch has been moved by a truck. Everything.
There's no doubt.
If you've ever gone to a store and a shelf is empty, it's because that truck didn't get there, and we're dependent on trucks. And the industry's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I always say it's the backbone of America is the people that do what you do and get those goods and services to us, because you're right. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all had to be at some point on one of these, whether they're the large trucks or the smaller or whatever it might be, to get to where we need it. So final thoughts before I let you go, and I really appreciate your time today. If you want to, again, just tell the people about the program, what you do, and when's the next time that you can register for a course, by the way?
Well, registration is open now for the fall semester. We have 2 semesters a year. One starts in August. For the fall semester, our spring semester starts in January. And like this particular semester will be done, our students graduate the 9th of May with their CDL. And by the way, Gary, I want to say, too, the last 4 years we have had 100%, every last student has gotten their CDL. And that speaks volumes about our program. The one thing that I've been so impressed, this is my 7th year with Northwest, and it is how this college, the number one focus is our students. And then we focus on taking care of the college and taking care of each other. And if there's anything our program needs, the people that we have in place at the college make sure we have it. And I think that speaks volumes about our program. It's not a fly-by-night program. And I would just also say that some people think, well, I don't have 16 weeks to get something done. But to make a major change and to gain a skill that's going to provide you a really good living for the rest of your life is worth the investment and the time to learn the skill. And that's really what our program is focused on.
Well said, Kyle. Thanks for the discussion today. I appreciate the time.
I appreciate you, Gary.
There we go. A little discussion on the Northwest Community College commercial truck driving program. On the concourse there in Batesville, part of NWCC, and as he said, there's a DeSoto County cohort as well. All that information, northwestms.edu. We're back to Batesville to talk to Panola Partnership. Joe Azar is on the program next.
Thanks for listening to the Bank First Ranger Hour, your connection to Northwest Mississippi Community College on SuperTalk Mississippi 93.7 and streaming live at supertalknorthms.com. Just click on the link for the Bank First Ranger Hour.
Thanks again to Kyle Eldred, the commercial truck driving program at Northwest, our first guest of the day. That goes on at the Concourse in Batesville, where we return. And we'll bring in our friend from the Panola Partnership, Mr. Joe Azar. Joe, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Gary. I'm glad to be back. I appreciate all you do for the area.
Absolutely, and we're going to get into the conversation with the Panola Partnership in Northwest. We'll talk about that concourse that I just mentioned, and then we'll get into some other things that I know that is going on with you and with the Panola Partnership that I want to get to as well. Northwest has been giving us these honorees over the past few shows, and now we'll get the chance to talk with you about your and the Panola Partnership and its partnership with Northwest and kind of what it means for you and, for Northwest, kind of combining together on a lot of things.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a real honor to be their 2025 Organization of the Year. I don't even know where to start. Yeah, it's mentioned in the Concourse. The very first, before President Heindel actually took the job officially at Northwest, myself and Cole Flint, our Board of Supervisor president, met him at the Concourse when it was still a abandoned outlet mall, factory outlet mall. And he saw the same thing Cole and I did, just pure potential. So to have someone like that that's proactive, doesn't even explain President Heindel. He is he's a true rock star in the education world, and he understands growth. He understands finance. He's just as our governor put it, a rock star in the education business. That's what he is, and we met a rock star that day, him and his wife Jennifer, and he just pretty much said, "Yeah, let's do this." Well, he did say that, and we did do it, and it's really been a blessing, not just to Panola County, but to our region, and we've always felt, and worked regionally here out of Panola. I think it's become contagious. There's a lot of other regional developments that have popped out from it, and our goal one day is to still have that regional airport between Panola and Oxford. So between Batesville and Oxford on Highway 6, I could see that there, and we need it. Oxford doesn't own their airport; it's owned by the school, and it's an east-west approach. It just makes all the sense in the world for us to build a nice 8,000-foot plus runway regional airport at that location, and it needs to happen.
Wow. Talking with Joe Azar today about the Panola Partnership and what they have done over time with Northwestern. I guess, the vision continues, right? You've gotten started, and there's some things that are nice going on, but you need to keep this combination together with the Panola Partnership and NWCC.
Well, we it all comes down to alignment. In Panola County, the reason we've been able to grow, and this is absolutely 100% correct. The reason we've been able to grow is because our city leadership, our county leadership, our Panola Partnership leadership have all been, our stakeholders have all been in line, that wanting the same things and pushing for the same things. It's just there's no stopping that freight train, Gary. And I don't mean to sound preachy, but it works. And when you don't have that, for example, before I took this job, Batesville had the opportunity of putting in a huge bypass, which will never happen again, probably, at least not for sure in my lifetime. But that bypass would have allowed Panola and Batesville to grow. I can't even fathom the growth that we would be able to develop here in Panola County with that bypass. But they didn't do it because everyone wasn't in line. But when we get in line for things like the Concourse, there's no stopping it. And I'm saying this because the other communities that are listening, that's how you do it. You can't keep bucking each other. You don't need checks and balances. People out there listening don't need to elect elected officials that don't get along because, this guy will counteract this guy. That's not the way to do it. You gotta put people in office that think that pretty much think the same, that pretty much are on the same page, and that's how your community will grow. And I want everybody to grow. I want the poorest people here in Panola County to move their quality of life and their livability up. And that's what the Concourse will do by training them. It knocks down all those barriers. Intimidation goes away. Self-esteem rises, and living wage rises. And it is, before you know it, they know that when we tell them there's not one factory in Panola County you can't work in, then it's the truth. And they believe it, and they know it, and they can do it. And the next thing you know, they're successful, and their family, it changes their entire family pathway. It really does. Absolutely.
Well said. Northwest Community College's foundation named Panola Partnership the 2025 Organization of the Year. They get to honor them at the Northwest Soiree. It's Masquerade Among the Stars on March 29th. We've been giving you those details, not just on these Thursday programs, but almost every other show as well. It is the Northwest premier fundraising and community recognition event held by the Northwest Foundation at the Heindel Center for the Performing Arts. Let's just say someone doesn't know exactly everything the Panola Partnership does. Can you kind of generalize it a little bit as to what your organization does and is doing there in the Panola and Batesville area?
Oh, God, I'll be happy to. I mean, you just take the words. We're an economic development office. So you take those two words. I always explain economic development. You take it and you flip it. Develop economy. So anything that develops this economy, we get behind. Now, I'm not saying anything, but anything that we believe will develop this economy, you dang right we're going to get behind it, and we're going to move the needle. And that's what we do. For example, economic development is recruitment and retention of industry. Okay, that's what we do. We're approaching 50 industry. We've had over 10 successful expansions and recruitments. I'm talking about huge ones, not small ones. We've had plenty of small ones, but we've had huge, 100 jobs here, expansions, and we've had 500 jobs, a brand new company coming in, everything in between. Human capital development is so important here. That's keeping our talent, and also recruiting talent. That's what human capital development is. Workforce development. What I was just saying, raising living wage by training and having a more skilled workforce. We're doing that with the Concourse. We're doing that with programs in the Concourse and working hand in hand with Northwest Community College. They've got a great team. I'm so blessed here to have the staff that I've got. Katie and Robbie here are amazing. It's just three of us, but I'm telling you, it's nonstop. We're self-motivated. We put our own pressure on ourselves. There's no micromanaging. Everybody knows their job. We cross-train. We work together. We can all do each other's jobs. Real proud of our team here. Community development is what we do also. Tourism. Chamber of Commerce for the county. We just brought in, through a TIF, a $50 million development. We're going to have all the big box stores. We're going to have Academy Sports, Hobby Lobby, TJ Maxx, Ross's. They're all being built right now. If you come to the intersection of Highway 6 in Batesville, Highway 6 and 55, we have over 40,000 cars a day riding by there. Now we have other big box interests. Huge, big names are looking at property behind Walmart, and some of the companies here are looking to reinvent themselves and move to around our Civic Center. 300 jobs alone are going to come to this $50 million big box development. Those 300 jobs will bring in an annual economic direct impact of over $60 million, and that's a conservative number, and that number includes 50% cannibalism. And when I say cannibalism, so say you have a hamburger store, sure, and you open another hamburger store. Well, your tax base is not going to raise that much because one is going to pull from the other. You only got so many mouths you can feed. So that's when I say cannibalism. So ultra conservative, using those kind of numbers. Nobody uses 50%, but we do. We use the same calculation to come up with our direct and indirect. Our direct and indirect impact is going to be, on the city alone, is going to have tax revenues of over $800,000 a year, just from the indirect and induced. So the direct impact taxes will go back to the development through the TIF. But the indirect and induced that they're going to pick up throughout the rest of the county outside of that development is going to come back to the city, or at least, and it's amazing. And again, those are really conservative numbers. So that's what we do. We do a tremendous amount of data research in here. We're all trained data analysts, and I was trained in my last 2 jobs as a data analyst as well. And so that's what we do. We do that. We do all kinds of economic impact studies because you can't go into anything blind. We work on governmental things. We work on attrition, on governmental funding. We're a tremendous fundraising organization. The attrition of our river due to the power and pressure coming out of Sardis Dam is an issue that we're taking on. Again, retail, tourism, the School of Aeronautics, Northwest School of Aeronautics, is going to have 7 amazing programs there. That's a whole conversation for another day. We've already built the first building, and We're building the tarmac and the not runway, but the taxiway to the runway. And so we get behind these things and we spearhead them. We get all the right people in the room. We call the meetings. We attend the meetings. We contribute as much as we can. But more importantly, we educate our leaders so that they are on that same page with each other and they're all pushing in the same direction, because again, that's how you win projects, and that's how you expand and grow your communities.
Excellent. Panola Partnership, Northwest Community College, a discussion. I'll give you the information on the soiree again in the end of this show and then in future shows as well. I know you're just kind of getting back from something called South by Southwest, correct?
Yes. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. I just got back. In one of my last, I was a manager in the music business for 16 years with my brother Steve, and while I was there, we every year. I managed Hank Williams III and Jessica Andrews, who's a multi-platinum artist, and the Crickets, the original Crickets, the Outfield, Vince Neil, Motley Crue. I had all these artists, so I was taking them everywhere. And one of the most esteemed concerts that you can go to in the United States is it's like 2 weeks of concerts and panels and talks is South by Southwest, and I've never ever dreamed in my life I would go as a participant. You know what I mean? Like, like I was invited to go, and I was actually invited to speak, and I got to speak on our solar development. So, as you know, when you drive through Panola County, you see a solar field on I-55, and you also see 2 on Highway 6. And so the one on 55 is sponsored by Microsoft, and the one on Highway 6 is one of them is sponsored by Rivian and some other companies, and then the last one is sponsored purely by Vanderbilt University. So the way Clearloop came in is they actually bought all this land. They joined our community. They're paying taxes for the next 40-plus years. That's just with this development. And they have these sponsors that I just mentioned. They're also committed to Panola County for the next 40 years. So I sat there on a panel that was directed, by the CEO of Clearloop, that was moderated by her, and then I had a gentleman from corporate Rivian that was just an amazing guy, and then also White Time, who is a data consultant that consults for Rivian and for Clearloop and Silicon Ranch. And we had them there spouting out the data and this, that, and the other. But the whole point was community growth. They wanted to know, how has our solar impacted community growth? Well, just Mississippi alone, it makes a statement out on the interstate when you see that. Hey, Mississippi's not backwards. That was the purpose of putting it on the interstate. And we're glad that they agreed to do that. Again, this organization is so community-centric. That's how Clearloop thinks. They do the smaller rural Delta projects. Panola is where the Delta meets the hills. I'm from Greenville, which is purely in the Delta. But Panola, half of our county is flat Delta, and the other half is where is the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. So it's really neat. We're in a very, very neat area, and it was great to be able to speak to how all the benefits that we're able. The reason we found them is because Crown Cork and Seal came to us and said, "Hey, we've got to have renewable energy credits." They call them RECs. Okay, we got to have those. We put in LED lighting. We have these global sustainability goals. We put in LED lighting. We put more efficient HVAC in. We're working on our lime cakes. But we've got to have some carbon offsets. So we went looking for solar for them, and thank God we found each other, and it was a match made in heaven, and it's been one ever since. I've gone to Boston to speak in front of Harvard and MIT folks. I've gone to Vanderbilt for 2 days, and they celebrated Panola County at Vanderbilt. Everybody on Vanderbilt's campus, I promise you, knows Panola County, Mississippi.
Yeah, Laura Zapata was on the program a couple of times as those projects were going on, and we were talking about each of it's 3 different sections, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so we discussed each of those. And so, yeah, there's no doubt that there's a lot of people around the country that know little old Batesville, don't they?
They do now, I promise. And they're going to continue over the next 40 as Microsoft and Rivian and Vanderbilt start working with us on projects, and it's exciting. So it's been a real blessing to work with this company and to just watch things unfold. I won't be at this job, but somebody will be working with them in the future, and they'll go, wow, this was a really cool thing for this area, because it's going to continue to help us grow.
Well, we thank you for what you're doing right now, and we look forward to continue to have those conversations with you. And congratulations on being named the 2025 Organization of the Year from Northwest Community College.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much. I appreciate all you do again for bringing awareness to this area, because that's a huge benefit to have you and have this program on the air and to share these kind of things.
Great conversation with Joe Azar, and we thank him for being on the program today. Organization of the Year is honored by Northwest, the upcoming soiree, which will be on the 29th. You can find out all that information at northwestms.edu or at heindelcenter.org, where you can read about Chapel Hart, that will be the musical guest, and some of the other things that will be going on there in Senatobia on the main campus. We also thank Kyle Eldred talking with us about commercial truck driving, and that, friends, is today's program. We exit. We leave you with the Super Talk world. We'll do a program tomorrow between 9 and 10. I hope you're with us. So long.